adventurers!
And welcome to this special episode edition of Nat 1. Very happy to have you all with us, and we're very excited to have a guest. We have a special guest. Friends of
We mean the details, it's like on the birth certificate. Friends of Kitty.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's awesome to have you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's good to be here.
And thank you to everyone in the audience for being here. If you have any questions for Friends of Kitty Games or Gareth,
Leave them in the comments.
yeah, go ahead and leave them in the comments.
We will check them out.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure.
Sorry,
No one
he
dad
mumbles a lot.
speaks.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm Gareth. I run a small RPG publishing company called Frenzy Kitty Games. We started sort of mid-2015, and since then we've just been sort of consistently, we tried to aim for at least one game a year. We've just been putting out role-playing games ever since then. Yeah, and so a lot of stuff in sort of the survival horror post-apocalypse genre. That's kind of been our niche. But yeah, that's what we do.
Very
Makes
exciting
sense,
and
yeah.
suspenseful things.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
I have to ask, because this has been bugging me ever
Yeah.
since you contacted us.
Oh yeah.
The name Frenzy Kitty.
Why
Games,
Frenzy Kitty?
Where did that come
So
from?
it was established before the stream started that I am a cat person, like you
Yeah.
both are, and it was when I was still staying at home. I had a cat that was just insane. Her name was Ziggy, and she still is Ziggy. And,
Okay. We know this is a post-apocalyptic, so it doesn't have to get that hard.
No, exactly. And you know when like animals get the zoomies and they like run around like crazy. Yeah. So Ziggy had the zoomies, and I was like, "You're in a frenzy, kitty." And that's where it came from.
Light bulb.
I know it's not a great story, but it's the true story.
It's
so.
like those videos where it's like, this is how the founding name happened.
Yeah.
And then it's like the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Paint the scene.
The cat did it, guys. The
The
cat
cat,
did
of
it.
course.
All the
Always count
credit
on the
goes
cat.
to the cats.
Always.
Yeah,
always.
man,
Yeah.
we're their pets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, feeding machines. Yeah.
Okay, so as you all know, this is a post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
themed games. Each book is a game, right?
Yeah. So each book is a game. They're mostly post-apocalyptic. There's a few others, like Something Wicked and Static Dawn, which are like Something Wicked is pulp horror. So think like 1950s investigator film noir.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Sort of cosmic horror, and then Static Dawn is the term biopunk. So it's think cyberpunk, but meets like cyberpunk, where all the augmentations and that sort of thing are kind of the main focus of the game.
Yeah, I saw the. She's kind of plugged in.
Yeah,
This also
she
caught
is.
Is it like a generator or something?
I think it's some sort of battery pack, but I'm quite open with the artists. I say like, this is what the book is about. You go mad. I'm quite unprescriptive when it comes to that sort of
It
thing.
looks like
yeah.
she's plugged into a generator.
Definitely, yeah. Jacked
art
into the
is
Matrix,
really
man.
cool. The art is amazing. When it caught my eye. when
Yeah.
I saw the
No,
art.
it's awesome.
great.
It's
Yeah.
very unique art.
And it's very it really makes it kind of brings out your imagination as well. You know, you take a look at the image and then you start thinking all of this, like, what is in it? What could possibly
Exactly, yeah. It's like pretty evocative, stuff, and it's quite cool because all of the main art in the book, sort of like the covers and a lot of the interior stuff is all South African artists, which is something that we try and do as well at Frenzy Kitty, is like use as little stock imagery as possible and licensing other things, and rather try and like get South African artists and illustrators to come and contribute.
support the local artists.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see, I mean, it's like the covers and the art is one of the biggest sort of compliments we get, which is always nice, even though it's got nothing to do with me. But so
You're still
on the
directing
book.
it.
Yeah,
You got
exactly.
the image in your mind,
it's-
and you're telling them, "Hey, this is kind of what I want."
that works for me.
I must say though, your trailer for Children of the Fallen gave me chills.
Oh, amazing! Yeah. So I am a film person in my day job, my real life. So I always I thought, okay, well, how can I take those things that I know how to do and apply them to role-playing games or these games that I'm putting out? And I thought, okay, well, I have to have a trailer for every game. That's something that I can do and I know I can do, and not a lot of other games are doing it. So that's always a thing. I always try and put a little trailer together for the games.
And the trailer sparks interest, because whenever any Kickstarter or anything has a trailer, you're immediately intrigued.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, okay, this is interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Bit
if you
more
watch it,
professional.
yeah, and if you watch it, you'll see it doesn't give too much away. It's really about feeling and mood and kind of just the tone of the game, because you don't want to get too literal or too obvious in a trailer. Keep it open enough for the people to interpret the world in their own way a little bit. But still get that feeling across, which is really quite cool.
I think that's very valuable, because some trailers, even film trailers nowadays, they tell you the whole story in the trailer.
You're right. I mean, if we're watching a trailer and it's as soon as I think it's something that we might be interested in watching, I'm like, okay, stop. At that point, there's no reason to spoil any more of the movie for yourself.
Spoilers.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've watched the movie in the trailer.
Exactly. Now I'm just paying a lot of money and wasting an hour and a half to sit and to watch it again.
It's like, oh yeah, I saw that in the trailer. Okay, that's the highlight.
They always give the best bits away.
Yeah. So is there anything else after that?
Exactly. Yeah.
You give the comedic bits, and you're like,
I'm gonna go to the cinema to see the filler.
Yeah, basically. And you're like, oh, was that the funny part? I saw it.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Exactly. The punchline was given away ages ago. Yeah. No, that's cool.
So, where did this love of post-apocalyptic
and horror and suspense
come from?
Content?
This is very extreme.
It is pretty extreme, yeah. So I've always been a horror fan. I mean, from when I was young, reading Stephen King and that sort of thing. When I was a teenager, loved that stuff. Always loved horror movies and that sort of thing.
I was gonna ask how young were you?
Probably too young to be reading Stephen King if you look at some of the stuff in the books. But and then the post-apocalypse stuff. I've always loved Mad Max and just that whole genre. So I think the horror and the post-apocalypse kind of go hand in hand together pretty naturally. And so the question of why post-apocalyptic, I think there's a few reasons. I think there's a bit of a hole in the market for that sort of game.
Yeah,
I think,
definitely.
I mean, they do exist. You've got Mutant Year Zero and Fragged Empire.
Yes, I think Grim Hollow.
Yeah, so they are out there, but I mean, I think if you're going out and you want to play a fantasy game, you're a lot more spoiled for choice in terms of what game you want to play. So that's one reason, the obvious hole in the market. The others are I was thinking about it today, and there's actually two reasons why I love post-apocalypse as a genre for role playing. And the first one is when you want to incentivize your player characters to do something. What's great in a post-apocalyptic setting is, rather than a fantasy setting where they're going out and what do they get? Oh, they'll get some gold pieces or a really cool piece of armor or whatever. And that's cool, loot, glory, whatever. But in a post-apocalyptic game, because the idea of currency has usually fallen away in a lot of these settings, there's a lot of bartering going on. So at that point, you think, well, how do I incentivize my players to go out and go on a quest? And then you think about it, I have to give the players something that they want. And in a setting like Eventide, you could say, well, rather than going out for gold, they need to go out and get a part to fix the generator to keep their tribe alive. So automatically, there's a vested interest for the characters straight away, because the stakes can be super high, you know? They're going out to get this thing, and the survival of their tribe depends on it. So you can really sort of get the players and the player characters invested in that way and make them really care.
Keep very engaging, because as a player myself, I enjoy being involved and thinking for myself and
And
okay, what's the deal?
For as a DM or a GM, it's to keep the players engaged is a lot more difficult in a fantasy setting. Because you actually have to toss them into the situation.
For sure.
You have to make them want something. That is the importance of the backstory in most fantasy games. Absolutely. You have to take something away from the backstory for them to move on or find or develop their characters.
And what you're
doing with survival's just
is
you need to live? Go ahead.
Exactly.
What you're doing is it's everything falls into place. quests,
Yeah.
they want to find something, they need to fix something, and it's continually engaging.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so the characters, they care about about what they're doing, and then the other thing about post-apocalypse, which is a really cool genre to play in, is there's so many like established tropes in a lot of the other genres. Like fantasy is such an established idea,
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's so many different flavors of post-apocalypse, so it really opens itself up to like weirdness, and you can. So because it's not like a set standard what the apocalypse looks like, you can get kind of crazy and do weird, wacky stuff that wouldn't have a place in any other game. But because it's your apocalypse and your setting, anything can kind of fit.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I think if you try and do something too different in a lot of the other genres, like you become known for the game that is the fantasy game, but lets you play, I don't know, like the Blue Dwarves or whatever. But in this, that weirdness can just be so more easily intertwined into the story and doesn't raise as many eyebrows.
Yeah, it also gives your players, like from a GM perspective, it gives your players a lot more freedom to create stuff. Because when you're in a fantasy setting, it's generally, medieval fantasy.
Yeah.
And for instance, if they wanted to create a generator, let's say, you can't really do that. You're going to have to find some really weird way that would fit into the fantasy world.
Yes.
Whereas post-apocalyptic, it's kind of like a mix of fantasy because the like real survival stuff that they already had has been taken away.
Yes.
So they're still kind of in that fantasy setting,
Yeah.
with the technology and
Aspect,
knowledge of
The time before or whatever.
before.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, it's great. And there's lots of room to play in that space.
Yeah.
Especially like in Eventide, for example. You'll have characters that come across a relic that's something from maybe our time that makes perfect sense to us, and like the players know it's a walkie-talkie or whatever it is, but to them it's just this magical box that makes a sound when they push the thing on the side.
Yeah,
so you can have a lot of fun with your players in that
Yeah.
way as well. So
And
yeah,
as
it's
a
a
player,
really cool.
and as a player, what you said was actually very true. The creative aspect, it gives a lot of room to create, and like creating the backstory and stuff, and even just being able to maybe, for example, I have a PC. Maybe trying to build a PC, and then you have like the little features that your PC has.
Exactly,
And you can
exactly.
implement those modern day loves. Like you can still do that.
But then you wouldn't make it like a PC like
No,
we
you
have
really-
now. You'd make it one of those really old ones, the first PC that
Yes,
came
of
out.
course, of course.
You're like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
invented
a high-tech
this.
PC.
No, you're loading your game in off a cassette tape and
Yeah,
listening,
exactly.
for sure. Yeah, no, it's awesome.
So what sparked Eventide?
So originally, the very first game we ever put out was Dusk, and that was in 2015, and it was me and a guy that I actually met through Infinity, the miniatures game. We used to play that together. Jason, so he's been my artist and worked with me on a lot of things. So Dusk was the first one. It was a good first effort.
show your
Okay,
books
here we are. Dusk was the first one. It was a good first effort, but it had lots of room for improvement. So when we released Dusk, we were super chuffed with it, and the response was okay, but we knew that there was a lot that we could do better. And then by the time I had gone through and made all these other games, I thought, okay, now I'm really ready to tackle the big post-apocalyptic RPG that I've like always wanted to, but maybe not been, like maybe not prepared enough to do. And then I thought, okay, well now's the time to do it. So I collaborated with Jason again.
This is a thick book.
It is a thick book. Yeah. So we collaborated again, and we took the world of Dusk and like built upon it a lot, and turned it into a full campaign setting. And so this is essentially the spiritual successor to that, but just much more refined. And a book that I'm really proud of.
You've been training years to create this book.
Exactly.
Terrible.
This is my exactly. This is my my final quest here. Well, for now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
The art is just amazing, always, and it's so expressive too. You can get a feel for what is inside the book.
Yeah. I mean,
It does justice.
you can't understate the value of the art. I mean, I've done a few things as well where I've used like licensed stock images or tried to do the stuff myself, and it's fine. But I mean, like a bespoke custom piece of art, like people love that cover,
Yeah.
and it's just a cool thing. And people, when I put the game up, people were saying, please upload the art as like wallpapers and that sort of thing. So it's cool. I mean,
Yeah, I can see
people
that.
do respond to the art.
Yeah.
And I think like not a lot of people give it maybe as much attention as they should, because it's expensive as an indie designer
Yeah.
to, you know, get custom art, but it really does make the difference for sure.
Yeah, because
I
the
like-
custom art. Sorry, you want to No, because the custom art. I mean, a special art made like for your imagination, what you had in mind, is priceless. Like,
Yeah.
you know, to have your thoughts and your imagination on paper and expressed, it's very different from, you know, trying to take a different picture, put it together. I mean,
Yeah.
you can make a good piece with it,
Yeah.
but still the details, the little things.
For sure, exactly. It's never going to be exactly
Yeah.
what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you went with black and white.
Yeah.
The main theme. It's very different because in like this field, there's everything's color.
Yeah.
There's so
No.
much
Very
color.
saturated with like.
So you know, I think I like the idea of like colorful page backgrounds and things on paper. I think for me, it's got to be a beautiful book, but it's also got to work as like a reference tool.
Yeah.
In the most unsexy way possible. It is like a textbook that someone's going to have to reference things and find things quickly. And I find sometimes a lot of that can get lost in sort of the backgrounds and things. So
Yeah, and the noise of all the.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, in
You
this
want-
situation, less is more.
Yeah, you want the
For sure.
facts to get through, and you don't want the people to have to page through like a whole spread of an image.
Yeah.
It's just like no, not there.
And you're like,
No, for sure. And it's funny, some of the criticisms that the books have gotten is they say, oh, that book could have been, you know, you could have condensed it and made it 10 pages shorter. I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, you still need art.
I'd rather have 10 more pages and it's more evenly spaced out and easier to read. But yeah, I don't know why people think they're not getting value for money if there's a little bit of white space on the page or something,
Yeah.
but I mean, it works. So
when
some of us like art.
when a person sees the if you have a book and all the sentences are really close together and they're all squished into one page,
yeah,
you're never really gonna want to read that,
No.
especially if it's for role playing.
for
Then
sure.
you're just like, okay, why are you trying to tell me all this information all
And
at
it's
once?
and it's hard to navigate as a rules text. It's
Yeah.
like you want bullet points, you want things very clearly laid out in steps. And I mean, if you look at like, I just think of the first edition Pathfinder rulebook, and just to find like, just for them to write down what you actually have to roll to try and attempt something, it's like a tiny little sentence hidden in some paragraph somewhere. It's not clearly signposted. So I'd rather have something like clear and obvious, but maybe a little heavier on the page side.
Do you have a favorite TTRPG?
To play, yeah, there's a few. So, obviously we play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, that's the classic. At the moment, we're playing some old school stuff. So, like, Old School Essentials is amazing. And then other things I like, Shadowrun. I like. There's a lot. Iron Sworn, and then a lot of the Powered by the Apocalypse games, Apocalypse World, Monster Hearts, all that sort of stuff is really, really cool. The Warren, where you get to play a rabbit, it's pretty rad. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the indie design space, and that's what I find really, really cool. I mean, there's games. Really all sorts of stuff. Like there's a game called 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, where it's literally a single-player experience where you're writing a vampire's diary. So there's all this really, really cool stuff out there that I find probably more interesting than what's happening at the moment in Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. But that's just because I'm used to Dungeons and Dragons. So.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is kind of used to Dungeons and Dragons.
It is the gateway drug,
Yeah.
for sure. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's it's everyone's first
It's
game.
default settings.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Like-
the vanilla
Yeah.
RPG.
Now you kind of gotta move away, just tweak it a bit, maybe raise some stats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then other things, Call of Cthulhu we play a lot of, which is pretty
yeah.
good. I don't know, have you guys played any Call of Cthulhu?
No,
or anything?
unfortunately not. I really want to.
Okay, nice.
Our
yeah.
experience is very restricted to default settings.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah.
We really want to experience more of the RPG world, but combined with time.
Yeah,
that it
no, the
takes.
time is hectic, yeah.
Yeah.
And also the time investment is a lot. So Children of the Fall and Karma, which is another game which I unfortunately don't have a copy of, they're both quite interesting in that they're what you call So they don't call them RPGs; they call them story games.
Yeah.
So they're GM-less.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So it's like no preparation required at all. You can just sit down, and that's what I like about it is, as there's no GM has to come up with a backstory, or you don't have to come to the table with anything prepared, and it all just happens as like emergent narrative through the gameplay, as the storytelling responsibility is shared evenly amongst the players.
Yeah. I saw you review your the Karma book.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, he has a YouTube channel, by the way.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the different perspectives. Like you had the family in the one setting. You had like the staff. I think that was the one where you're barricaded inside.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And you had the staff, and I was like, it's interesting roles to put yourself in.
For sure, yeah. So that was one of the things with Karma. Yeah, so Karma is another one of those GM-less games, and like you say, you have the scenario you barricaded in, but we wanted to add extra replayability. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you're playing the scenario where you barricaded into the shop, you could be, like the family that's going on a road trip that got barricaded in, or the night shift staff, or, there's tons of different. That setting has the potential to tell so many different stories, and we wanted to be able to do that in the game, not to have like a one and done situation.
It's like exciting each time something new.
Exactly.
You make different choices. You got a kid to think about now.
Exactly, mama. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to like make a date with your friends to come play. You just bring the book with, slap it down on the table.
Exactly.
Like, okay, we're
now.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like, it's really appealing because I think the prep work that's required puts a lot of people off as well. Like making characters and that sort of thing, and a lot of games. I mean, you get a lot of flexibility and obviously a lot of granular control over who your character is in something like D&D. But like no one can deny, it takes a long time to make a character, and I think that that can be put a lot of people off.
Yeah, and also not just it takes a long time to make a character. If you have players that make characters that they get so attached to, that you end up
guilty as charged.
Yeah, all my players, they made characters, and I had a one shot that I was running.
Good.
It turned into a full-on campaign because they loved their characters so much, and they did not want to stop with it.
We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into those characters.
So now we have two campaigns. One was supposed to just be a one-shot in a desert, turned into this whole campaign.
Because making the characters was longer than the one-shot, probably.
Yeah.
They're more invested in the character creation.
Everyone.
This short campaign, the one-shot, supposed to be one-shot, was because the main story was on a halt because some players couldn't make it and stuff. So this was kind of like a sub thing for like the
just
few
a
players
little
who could make it. But then the players that couldn't make the other one could make this one, and then they joined in, and then it started spiraling.
Just the snowball was rolling.
Yeah, the first campaign. What happened to the first campaign?
Yeah, it
I
was.
had big plans, and then stopped.
It was our first time
ever having a campaign.
With our first campaign. It was all of our first times playing D&D.
So the second one, it was more fun for all of us because we knew we were more relaxed also because the premise was a one-shot. So if the character died, you could create a new one. So it wasn't like you're tied to this character. You had more freedom, more relaxing.
Until
Obviously
they started playing the character and they didn't want it to die.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's so funny. Games like D&D and those sorts of things where the characters are quite survivable. Like it's not hard to stay alive in D&D if you're careful and you don't go and do anything ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you do get that, where you get attached to the characters, whereas like a lot of the old school games, like the OSR stuff, it's you come to the session with 4 characters rolled up because it's like going into a
it's going down.
So D&D's gotten a lot more survivable over the years, and I think people do get more attached to their characters.
That's good to hear as a player.
It's never been easier to stay alive in D&D.
This post-apocalyptic, your books and all that is more for a GM, just like, okay, here's a character, it's gonna die, okay?
Exactly.
It's gonna die.
Manage your
play the life
expectations, It is the post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
The character for the one-shot is actually the character that is in issue 1.
Okay,
that was the
okay,
character for
nice.
the one-shot.
Yes,
I put
yes,
so
yes.
much into that backstory.
Oh,
And the
really?
little things and like the mask and the features and everything.
Yeah,
So
no, it's
it
cool.
was just like that was one of my min-max attempt characters. So I'm still like, for all those real min-maxers out there, I'm still a baby. I'm still working on it.
You know, I used to put all that effort into my characters, and then when they start dying so rapidly, it's just, I don't want to get that attached to them because it's just too heartbreaking, you know, when they're going through that kind of, sort of character turnover.
Yeah,
It's
one
scary stuff.
of our players' characters died. He was crying in real life because it was his brother's character that died.
Oh,
So like
awkward.
it was like double
No
stab.
one wants to be the guy who kills his brother's character in D&D, no.
Yeah. His brother's died. He died, and then the younger one, the older one. So they're siblings, and the older one's character died. So the younger one was like,
You know they're probably watching this and
Yeah,
they're gonna
okay.
message you after.
I told you not to tell that story on stream, it's personal.
Exposing
The tears rolling down his face. Don't worry, I'm not saying.
We'll talk about this when we get home.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, but it was emotional.
Yeah, no, it can be, for sure. You do get attached to your characters. yeah.
So this is a D6, all of your
No,
books, or-
all sorts.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to talk through them?
Yeah, how does
Yeah.
the mechanics work?
Okay, so let's start with, let's do Children of the Fall.
Okay.
Okay. There we go. Just trying to. Yeah. Okay. So Children of the Fall is pretty cool in that it's, like I said, it's GM-less, and there's a bunch of. The first thing you do as a group is you kind of sit down and you decide on a few things, like how long has it been since the fall. So there's rules for whether the fall happens. I think it's 6 days, 6 weeks, and 6 months before
Oh, that's
the
interesting.
current campaign. So you know, it can still be very raw where there's like still petrol in the cars and people are still driving around in chaos, or it can be 6 months later where everything has gone crazy. So
Except you still got Twinkies.
you still have Twinkies. Those
Yeah.
things
Twinkies
can survive
Anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once you've decided a little bit about the world, and I should say, so the setting is, it's like a post-apocalyptic setting where everyone, once they hit the ages of 16, 17, 18, you're never really sure when, they go through like some sort of transformation.
Okay, so it's not just like a once-off thing where.
No, that's the
Oh,
thing.
that's cool. Okay.
So one
I thought
day-
it was once off.
Yeah.
So one day, all of a sudden, all of the grown-ups just went crazy. So that's kind of the premise of the game. They just went mad. They started attacking each other, attacking everyone,
I'm
and they
still
were
19, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Enjoy it
Do I
while it
still
lasts. So that's kind of the setting, and the players play as these children trying to survive in this apocalyptic scenario.
Okay.
So once you've decided on like the kind of apocalypse you want to play, then you choose your character playbook, and there's a bunch of them. You can be sort of the leader, the hunter, the doctor, the innocent, the martyr, the diplomat. There's a bunch of different types of characters that you can play. So everyone picks those, and once you've done that, you build your haven, which is like your little base, and you actually have like a map that you draw on and scratch things out as they get destroyed. And then once you've done all that and built your characters, you pick a mission. And there's, I think, 8 or 9 missions in the book. And the missions are essentially just a set of stories. Oh, not stories, questions. So like just to help prompt the sort of the flow of the story and
I
give
was
you
gonna
ideas.
ask, like in D&D, obviously you have the DM who's controlling and describing. How does that organization work when it's just
So the way it works is pretty interesting. So it's a shared sort of responsibility. So every player in the game will get the opportunity to frame and essentially GM 4 of the scenes.
nice.
So the game takes place in over sort of 4 acts, and we go around the table and everyone has a chance to frame a scene. And then you set up the scene. You say, cool, my character is, we're in the back of the shop and we're trying to find medicine, and you're there, and then this is what's happening, and then boom, you're in. And then you're playing, and you're in character, and you're talking. And the only sort of actual real mechanic in the game is what's called the complication rule. So at any point during someone else's scene, you can spend a story point to add like a complication to the story.
you could have like a really mean person.
Yeah, and it kind of encourages you being a little bit mean and a little
And
bit
you're
sort
like,
of cheeky.
No, stop touching my character.
Exactly, yeah. And then there's a bunch of rules, and you roll, and then it determines if the complication goes off or doesn't. And then there's tracks and things, and eventually what will happen is your character will fill out they have these sort of like they're called traumas, and these are the sort of events that happen, and then right at the end there'll be
kind of like in survival games, you have your sanity.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what I tried to do in the book, which is pretty cool, is to like everything around the character creation is just designed to help push the story forward. So for example, like the missions, like move along. To set up for that mission, you just answer like the questions. So the mission's called Move Along. The questions are like, why can't you stay? Why is the threat insurmountable? Where will you go? Why do you have doubts about this solution? What threats do you know you'll face on the way? And which members of the tribe, if any, disagree with this mission and why? So already, just by as a group answering those questions, you've got like something to go on, you know. And that's always the thing is like with these GM-less games. It's always hard to get the ball rolling. No one wants to be the first one to go. So at least there's a lot of that in there.
Unless you have some like experienced role players.
Yeah.
They like carrying the table.
And it's funny, you know, people are always nervous to start playing one of these games. And after the first scene, they're like, yeah, no, totally. You get into it a lot quicker and a lot easier than I think anyone expects.
Yeah.
It's pretty nerve-wracking, but it's actually not too bad.
I can tell you, the first thing I'd probably go for is maybe if there's a chemist in town.
Oh yeah.
Get something to make some sort of explosive.
For sure, loot the pharmacy, big time. Yeah, absolutely. That's like post-apocalypse 101. Get to the pharmacy, get to the gun shop, then you're good.
That's actually been my 101 when I play any role-playing game. Make an explosive.
Where's the apothecary?
Literally everywhere, bombs.
Molotov cocktail.
You can't
The
argue it's
pyromaniac.
effective.
Exactly. You can't deny the results. I'm sure.
I mean, and this is pretty cool because, like, if people are like really fans of maybe like the Walking Dead series, right?
Yeah.
Then, like, video games are very visual and obviously the details and everything. But with these kind of games, it's nice because you're you're in control. It's like, you know, all your imagination and stuff, and like. If you've ever dreamed of being in that scenario, this comes to life.
Or had a nightmare about
Yeah.
being in that scenario.
Some people, it's not a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, everyone has their zombie apocalypse plan. I know where I'm going, I know who I'm taking,
And they're like,
I know what
and you
the
know
plan
what
is.
weapon, I got this down.
Exactly.
Until you meet the people.
Exactly, it's just the sensible thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually already have a plan.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Like, as soon as you started reading, I was like, I know.
I know,
You've
exactly.
You've taken those YouTube tests where you're like, will you survive a zombie apocalypse? I'm like, I'm ready.
You pause in the middle of watching a zombie series and it's like, what? I would survive that. You know what?
Yeah, no.
That is so stupid what you are doing.
And some people are just like, no, I'll just go straight into the zombies. It sounds too stressful. Just tell me out, I'm done. Yeah.
But that sounds funny with like the trauma and going around the table with the complication mechanic.
Yeah,
like imagine one player, all the players' trauma is caused by the other player.
Yeah, so, and what's cool about that is you have a limited number of story points. So when you give someone a complication, you give them that story point, and then obviously are empowering them to hand out complications later. So it's nice, the currency moves around the table, it's pretty
Is
cool.
there any way to like block someone from...
So you have a determination point which you can spend, which lets you, I think, either re-roll or roll a different, roll 3 dice instead of 2. And then there's also another sort of get out of jail free card, which is called the Helix point, and that's just like, you can spend that one. You won a game, you can spend it, but that like vetoes any dice roll.
Oh, we got inspo from Monopoly. Get out of jail for good.
And that's Children of the Fall. So yeah, it's a pretty cool, GM-less post-apocalyptic game. Dark, but good.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah.
It does. The more you describe it, the more I want to play it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely had more of a following in Europe than in like the Western world. So I wonder if like European gamers are more open to like something from the dark side.
Oh yeah,
I feel like you should make Afrikaans. Afrikaans.
For everyone that's watching, you ship worldwide.
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can go to frenzykittygames.com or just look us up on itch or drive through RPG, and you'll find all of the stuff there.
So you've translated into Italian?
Yes, so Children of the Fall was translated first into Spanish by Mindscape Publishing, and that was released in Spain a few years ago. And then early this year, we did Narrativa, who are a big publisher in Italy, got in touch and said that they wanted to do an Italian version, which is cool because they did all new artwork. So all the different characters have got their own like new
that's cool.
illustrations if you speak Italian. So that was pretty cool, and it's always nice to sort of see the game being enjoyed sort of
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it must be great to see your work in different parts of the world.
It is cool, yeah, and almost nothing in South Africa. It's interesting. A lot in Europe and Finland. Weirdly, apparently I have a
on
following
that
in
side.
Finland. Yeah. So it's cool. It's places that you don't expect. Yeah, Germany. Children of the Fall is very popular there. So it's cool. Yeah.
And it's nice to see like different versions. Like with
It is
art
cool.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
So when they came to me and they said they wanted to do an Italian version, I was like, okay, cool. And I had all the files and the art and everything. I sent it to them, and they actually said, well, we want to do like a whole new layout and new art and everything. And then they found the illustrator and briefed it in. So I didn't get to see any of the art or anything until it arrived. And that was
must have been exciting.
super exciting. Yeah. Because I mean, I opened it and it was like, wow, this is someone else's take on the world and the setting, and it's always lovely to see. Yeah, very cool.
That was
that's
really
that.
epic.
Yeah,
Like exciting, opening a gift kind of.
at big
feeling.
time. Yeah. No, for sure. No, it's great. Yeah.
I think we should probably say hello to some of the people in
Oh,
chat.
chat.
That
Hello
from
to some of the
beginning.
people in chat.
So we have Rising Phoenix GM.
Oh
First
yes.
time chat. Time for the ready to roll puns.
Okay. Here we go.
Hello, Michael. And we have 2 new followers, Snow Tiger's Den and Corpus 6667.
So that I know who that is.
Oh, there we go. We don't know the names.
That's Jason, the artist from the books. So
Oh.
hey, Jason.
Hi.
Love your work.
Hey.
It's amazing.
Yes, I did say I would give him a shout out. So Jason, the board giveth on Instagram. Jason
Okay.
Kyle, amazing artist.
Shout
Worth
out
a
to
follow.
you. Yeah.
Shout out to
great,
him.
great
Amazing
art.
stuff.
Yeah,
Amazing products.
Cool.
It's like he says, hey. He says Gareth is a bit loopy like that.
Oh really? Yeah, I'm not going to argue.
I
Guilty
mean,
as
straight up
charged.
facts.
Straight up facts. It's dropping truth bombs in the chat.
Okay, well, hello to everyone.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for
Happy
watching.
to have you.
Everyone
And
in
also
chat
the
and
lurkers. Yeah. Jinx. Yeah, the lurkers. We're happy to have all of you.
Yeah.
Would you like to discuss more about
Sure, we can talk about
the
Eventide.
book, the
Yeah, so Eventide is the new big one. So one of the things that's interesting is I find in RPG writing there's kind of two sort of distinct camps. You've got like the rules design and systems design side of it,
Yeah.
and then you've got what people affectionately refer to as like the fluff. So the world building, the settings, NPCs, quests, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was always good at the rules stuff. Like that was my thing. I could do like systems. I could come up with mechanics. That I was good at. And I knew that was my strong suit.
And we can see it in the book.
Yeah.
You can really see
Well,
it.
thanks. But then conversely, I realized that, okay, I needed to work on the other side of my sort of craft, which was like the world building, coming up with stories and NPCs and a setting.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, cool. Well, I've got the rules down. I know the system I want to use. And then we took what was very briefly created in Dusk and just built upon it. So it's a role-playing game, also post-apocalyptic, a little more traditional. So this has got a GM, and what's
We're not obsolete just yet.
no. Yeah,
Not getting replaced.
yes, before GM-less games or the AI overlords replace us all.
You still get GMs in post-apocalyptic roles.
Exactly.
Don't worry, you're not dying species just yet.
So yeah,
Wow.
So this is kind of like Mad Max vibes, but with a lot of like survival horror, a lot of body horror. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty gnarly.
So
A lot of people complain.
I've gotten
Okay,
so many
I've got,
complaints.
so because of that, I've got to ask: do you play video games?
Yes.
Have you
yes.
played The Forest? Or
Yes, I have played the forest.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it kind of like that with the?
Forest isn't.
So there's a lot of actual in the book. I list like a lot of the influences, and there are video games in there. There's a lot of like Rust and DayZ.
Okay.
Ugh, but yeah, so the forest, all those survival games, Don't Starve, I love all of that stuff, and so that's one thing that's interesting about this game is I took a lot of like the inspiration for a crafting system from the world of video games. So there's like resources that the characters can collect throughout the
That's
world.
actually quite interesting.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
so-
I've always thought that would be great in a role play.
Yeah, and then so you can you collect resources, and then there's like crafting recipes, so you can build your own guns, your own vehicles, all sorts of things.
That's cool.
And it's cool. So there's like a bestiary, there's all the monsters, there's rules for vehicles, so you can build your own and out of like metal or bone or skin or wood, and there's all sorts of different things that you can do. And then there's also tribe rules. So if you play as a tribe in the apocalypse, there's like your relationships to the other tribes that are covered in the book. So if you have like a really good relationship with the Children of the Fall, for example, then if you need them to help you or you're trying to barter with them, that'll actually have a mechanical implication in the rules.
That's nice. Yeah.
So you've got there's a little bit of granularity in terms of like, we've got resources to track and we've got these relationships, but then at its heart it is like a post-apocalyptic survival horror role-playing game, and it is difficult to survive. It's quite brutal.
So for you bloodthirsty people out there who like killing everything and everyone in sight, this might not work out the way you want.
No, exactly. Yeah.
I'm starting to see a theme with tribes here.
Yeah, so I think that it's a little bit Lord of the Flies. I always think it's interesting to see, what happens to a society once the sort of structures are stripped away, and I think that's interesting, and I think a lot of people find it interesting.
The human nature of it.
Especially for players to step into that world, and now especially if you are really into the game and you're very imaginative, that can be pretty real for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and like you yourself experiencing, like if you were in this world, how would you personally like react?
For sure, yeah. And it's interesting, and the world is populated with all sorts of weird characters. So there's like, in the book itself, there's I think 17 tribes that are fully detailed with their own hierarchies, relationships to one another, rituals, like MO. So it's really a world that's like ready to play in, but very easy to slot yourself in and your own world in. And because it's such a sparse setting, we haven't populated it so much that there's no room for GMs to add their own stuff in. There's lots of like unnamed locations on the map, or big empty regions which are just like unexplored or unmapped. So you can really sort of like take as much of what's written there as you want and add in as much of your own flavor as you want to, because there's room for both,
Yeah.
And when you say gore, you mean like the prompts that you give DMs and things, or
gory?
Yeah, like when you.
I think just in terms of like a lot of the character designs, the tribes, the monsters. So the tribes are interesting because they've all got their own, beliefs and
sacrifices.
And because there's 17 of them, some are going to be like nicer than others, and some are going to to be really, really not a lot worse than others.
The bullies,
and
some are like
the crazies. So there's a lot of really weird characters and creatures in here, and I think that and also even locations. For example, there's a tribe called the Wormites, and they basically
that sounds good.
Yeah, they're gross, and they're born out of this giant like meat field in the desert that's just this undulating sea of flesh, and they come in and out of that. So it's like really gross body horror stuff,
but it's really
which I love.
Yeah, it's really scratching that itch for some people, though.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you can take it out. I mean, that's like the first thing in any of these books. It says, this is your game, take the parts you like, throw away the parts you don't.
As a GM, I'd leave it in and just watch the table squirm.
Yeah, well, there we go. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. I'm not misleading anyone. It is a survival horror game. It's going to be scary.
You know what you're getting into.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
Yeah. But for some people, there's like you said, there's a gap in the market, and like even like I enjoy that kind of stuff, and so just being able to have an actual like professionally made thing that is scratching all the itches is like very helpful.
And I mean, you see, the post-apocalyptic thing is becoming more and more popular now. I mean, we had The Last of Us, which is obviously amazing. Silo, which is that new Apple TV show which has just come out. You're seeing like more and more post-apocalyptic stuff all the time. It's awesome.
That's not a bad sign.
No, I think it's a good sign. The more people that watch Mad Max, the better. It is a great movie.
So what's your favorite?
Oh, what, Mad Max?
The
fourth one. Out of all my games.
Yeah.
So...
Do you have a baby?
I do. So it's definitely going to be these two, the Children of the Fall and Eventide.
Yeah.
For different reasons. I think Children of the Fall did a lot for me in that it got a fair amount of attention, and it's a design that I'm super proud of because I think, the goal is always to try and build a system that sort of helps facilitate good storytelling and encourages the kind of storytelling that you want to take place in the system. and I think Children of the Fall has a lot of those sort of design elements built into it.
Yeah.
And then Eventide, just from like a polish and a professionalism and just a scale, I think it's definitely the book
And
I'm the
showing
most
your
proud of.
progress as well, how far you've come.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and I can look back at this, and I think it's like any creative person. You look at your latest thing, and you look at your first thing, and it's hard not to cringe. But yeah, no, I think that this came up very nicely, and we're very proud of it. So yeah, very happy with Eventide.
Yeah, your 2 thickest books are your favorites.
Oh, what can I say? It's just the page count. That's all that matters.
I think what you're saying about like storytelling and that survival really pushes people to start storytelling. Like,
For sure.
When you're laid back in a fantasy setting, then it's as the DM, you're kind of pushing the story.
For sure.
But with survival, it's the players that are pushing the story.
Yeah.
You're just there to say, "Listen, you're losing."
Yeah, because they're so They're so incentivized to try and survive. You know, like in a sort of fantasy game. The funny thing is, like, so few people ever run away from like the danger, but in a fantasy game, what is the incentive? It's money or gold or glory or weapons,
Yeah.
like I was saying earlier. And yeah,
It
in
gets old.
Eventide, your characters need to complete this mission, otherwise everyone starves to death or freezes to death. Or
Yeah. Especially if you make them really invested in their character.
yeah.
With survival, they'll do above and beyond just to keep it alive.
For sure. And that's the really cool thing also about Children of the Fall, is that you've got these characters that are so vulnerable and like innocent that they have no other choice but to, because you're playing the older kids in the tribe.
And you also got that looming, like, listen, I'm gonna go mad eventually.
Exactly.
What
and,
am I gonna do?
And on the character sheets, like the third downfall you can suffer once you take like that many trauma, is like, for some characters it is like either you die or you suffer the fall. And like at that point the player can choose, do I go crazy or do I die?
Well, I mean, people,
And you work that into the story.
Yeah, people were already worried about getting old.
Yeah.
Now it's just taken to a whole new
Oh, no,
level.
exactly. Yeah, no, when 17 is like, getting long in the tooth there. Yeah, no, that's a...
It's like if the anxiety doesn't kill you first.
Yeah, it's a truth.
Yeah.
So, this one
Yeah.
something wicked.
Cool, yeah. So,
That interested me just because of the cover and like the detective feel.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, cool.
I actually it was a one shot. Okay.
Yes.
That did not turn into anything
a 15
more.
shot, yeah.
And it was, my players were detectives
We
in
suck at
like
being
this.
detectives.
That's hard.
Yeah, and it was like in this medieval but kind of steampunk time.
Okay.
And the one thing that really amped up the game we all loved was I had this jazz detective playlist playing in the background.
It makes a difference.
Oh, it made the world of difference. I started playing it, and the beat, I just ended up describing to the beat of
Yeah.
jazz.
And like some of us were
Everyone
like,
was laughing.
yeah, and some of us were like, da-da,
Yeah.
da-da.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love all of that stuff. I know some people think it's a bit much, but like, yeah, light some candles, turn on the smoke machine, get the music going.
Atmosphere
Let's
is
set the
everything.
scene, baby.
Exactly.
It's, you gotta. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And in here, there's like suggestions for music to play, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
The main thing, I think, as a GM, one of the best things you can do that's pretty easy is to have music playing in the background.
For sure.
Because when you pause it, there's this silence. Even while you're describing, even while everyone's talking.
Yeah.
If there's no music, there's like, it's the silence is ringing.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you play that music, it's like everything blends into
Exactly.
each
And
other.
it's also hilarious when she, like, if it's an intense moment, she pauses the music. Goes, well, why'd you pause the music?
Yeah, roll for initiative. Yeah.
Change playlist.
Exactly. Point zone.
Why is it quiet?
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I think if you probably just look up on Spotify or whatever, you'll find there's probably tons of D&D playlists and things already put together.
Yeah.
So there's really no reason to not do it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, no, it's cool. But yeah, so Something Wicked is, as you say, like a pulp horror role-playing game, sort of set in the 1940s, 50s, the sort of golden era of sort of film noir. And yeah, it's
Golden era for detectives.
the golden era for detectives, yeah. So this is kind of a very light version of a sort of Call of Cthulhu-ish kind of game.
Okay.
But with a very sort of simple rule system. You roll 2d6. You're going for a set difficulty. I think it's 7 or more. And then it's just 2d6 and a modifier. So I think the beauty of this game is the fact that it's so lean. It's 60 pages of actual book, and the rest is pre-generated characters and stuff. So if you like want to tell like a horror story and don't like want to have to learn a whole system that's gonna be a mission and tons of rules, that's kind of what Something Wicked was designed to do, was to help people to tell horror stories using a system that was like super easy to pick up and just get to the table quickly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this book was all about.
Light reading.
Yeah. And what's really cool is all the artwork for this is like actual sort of the actual vintage artwork from back in the day. Like none of this was created. This is all real sort of pictures from comics from the 40s and 50s. So it's pretty cool. That's Something Wicked, the horror one.
Yeah, I think that's one thing when you are playing like a survival or a detective game, because we played that one shot with the D&D mechanics and everything.
Yeah.
The problem with that is it takes so long.
Yes.
Through everything.
Yeah.
When you play like a detective horror game, you're there for the story. You're not really there for the initiative.
Exactly. I think there is something to be said about like playing the system for the story that you want to tell. I think D&D is good if you want to tell that kind of your classic fantasy story. That's great. And even you've got Ravenloft if you want to go like slightly gothic horror with it, or Gamma World if you want to go sci-fi.
For exploration, is for characters and things.
Yes.
I think for for detective stuff, it takes also a long while to figure out the players have to figure every little thing out, and it takes a lot of time. But the fighting took a lot of time.
Yeah, I think as D&D players, we're used to saying things like, "Okay, I check for traps," but in like a detective game, you can't. You say, "I check for traps." You say, "No, well, what are you doing? Actually, tell me what are you physically doing to check for traps, and then we'll talk." So for like you say in that detective game, you have to. There's no like broad strokes of it's like it's all about the details and the investigation and the clues and stuff. And
it's like, no, you're not gonna roll for it. You're gonna tell me what to check for,
exactly.
and I'll tell you if it's there.
Exactly, and at that point the rules have gotten out of the way, and that's not a bad thing. Because
it helps the story flow. Because when you have for specific genres, when you have too many rules, then you never get anywhere with the story, because everyone's always, okay, I want to do this. All right, roll for that. Let's check the stats.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you want to,
you want it to flow.
Yeah, people like rolling dice, but also you want it to flow, and you want that like when that dice roll comes around, that it's something that can happen quickly.
Yeah, especially intense scenes.
Exactly.
You want it to happen fast.
Exactly.
It loses its intensity.
Yeah, because if you're having to slam on the brakes every 5 minutes and people are pulling out their calculators to work out what bonus they have, it's like, then at that point the mood's been lost, and the whole vibe is gone.
And then you're just like, oh, you killed the bad guy, yay!
Yes, and he's like, what were we talking about again? Where were we? So you kind of, I think the main thing in any game I try and work on and play is the story's always got to come first, before rules, before anything, and it's one of those things where people have to kind of find the system that works for them and has the right level of detail and granularity, but where it doesn't get in the way and slow things down, like you say.
It's also hilarious.
So you mainly D6s, right?
Yeah, so Eventide's D6s, Something Wicked's D6s, One of the Falls D6s.
Yeah.
Static Dawn is a D20 because I just had to. I hadn't done one yet that used a D20, and I was like, okay, it's part of
It's a classic.
it's part of the pilgrimage of the game designer. You have to do a D20 system, so that's Static Dawn. But also like a super simple system. It's like, I'm quite proud of that one as well.
I just want to mention with like the detective stories in D&D and stuff, one of the most hilarious things I find so funny is that every player thinks everything is a clue.
Oh, for sure. Every red herring is the thing that is going to hold them up for 3 hours.
Some of them go like, oh, you saw, there was my one was a drunk person, and he saw a crystal. I was like, what is this crystal? And he said, it looked like a plate. I was like, what's on this plate?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, you're just describing a scene. And they pick out something so random from what you described.
And it's always the thing that you try and make sound as like uninteresting as possible, and actually she's hiding something. There's something to that. Just go talk to that guy.
It's actually just a picture frame.
Exactly, and I wish I hadn't mentioned it. Goodness.
Everyone rolls investigation with
Yes,
Someone
it is
gets
still a
it.
picture frame.
Someone gets a nat 20 and they're just like, and you,
It is
it's
the
just-
picture
it's
frame.
Just a picture frame. Like, even a nat 20 can't figure it out. You're like, no.
Yeah, you can't magically investigate it into something else.
And even afterwards, like, take the picture.
There's something with that picture.
we'll roll for detect. We'll do detect magic on it later.
Awesome. Yeah, no. I mean, the best laid plans don't ever survive first contact with the player. It's all about compromise and like pivoting on the spot.
Yeah,
Oh,
which
so
I
that's-
think is something that your books kind of go around is you don't have to plan as much.
No, and there's a lot of like random tables and things. So, on the fly, the GM can sort of just with a few dice rolls roll up an encounter, or roll up a new tribe or an interesting NPC. So like I think you want to enable your GM, you want to make your games as easy to run as possible for the
Yeah.
GM. So you give them those tools so that minimizes prep and it allows them to also be surprised. To let the story take them a little bit, because you never you should all appreciate your GMs. It's a lot of hard work that they put in for not a lot of, reward. And I think that, so any tools that you can put in to try and make their job a little bit easier, I think is always nice. And even if you do want to plan something sort of miles ahead, there's stuff that'll help jog your memory or like inspire you, like give you a spark of inspiration to come up with an encounter.
Yeah, that's one thing. As a GM, when you start out, you'll learn later whether you start doing it or not. Is you never plan multiple sessions ahead.
Oh no,
It's just
no,
not
no,
gonna
no.
work.
No,
Okay, don't plan out your player's path
no.
because they will go the completely opposite
100%.
direction.
It's like 99.9%.
Yes, no, you're wasting your time if you plan anything more than a few scenes ahead
Yeah.
of you.
But what's
you know?
nice about your thing is like it's organized chaos.
Yes, exactly. There's a table, and you roll on the table to find what chaotic thing is happening. Yeah, at least it's nice and neat.
He's not so neat.
No, but one thing, like, I don't know, are you a GM? Do you? or
yeah,
more,
I do.
You're more GM or you more player?
Oh, I prefer to be a player.
Which side? Hey, you're on my side.
I've GM'd a lot, and I was I think when you, unfortunately, sometimes you get sort of lumped with the responsibility of being the eternal GM.
The forever
Often
GM.
The forever GM,
Yeah.
the person who brought the game to the group. And I was always the GM. So now I've actually found a few groups that we play with that are like, it's cool to be the player. I enjoy it.
It's like
And I get them to play test a lot of the games that I then get to experience as a player, which is
Okay.
pretty cool to sort of, I think when you play testing something, I think a lot of game designers make the mistake of like, okay, I've made a game, I'll play test it as the GM, I'll run it. But I think it's important to get the experience from the player's perspective as well.
So basically, these are your GM notes.
Exactly. My GM tools and my GM notes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the little cheat sheet.
I mean, at least one of our friends wants to try DMing, which is great, but
Well, she told me that
she told us that
a month or two in.
hasn't happened yet.
Oh yeah.
About a year and like
Yeah.
a half now. I'm still waiting to play.
And what's the reason? Why? Just too much
She
prep?
says she's still planning.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
go-
Well, yeah. If you're still planning, then you're planning too much. That
Yeah,
you've already
see?
planned too much. You're good to go.
Professional
You're good to go.
Whatever
I
you
think-
have, you got it.
Exactly. Do it. Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the thing is, over planning a campaign is just it's going to be worse for you as the GM and probably worse for the players. I think you got to trust your players, and that's what's so cool about something like a GM-less game is that what I've learned from writing and playing a lot of these games is that like everyone, given the right rule set and the right inspiration, can do it. It's like I've never had someone play Children of the Fall and it just like fall flat when it comes their turn to frame a scene. So you gotta have faith in your players that they've also got good story ideas, and if they come up with something, like maybe that painting wasn't anything, but now it should be.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now,
Just so
know?
into this painting, you're like,
yeah.
fine.
Exactly.
But it doesn't doesn't mean it
You
has
want a
to
magic
be...
painting? I'll give you a
Yeah.
magic painting.
Exactly.
Huh. Doesn't have to be advantage for them. They wanted it. All
Yeah.
right, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But there's a catch.
A trap, for sure. It's
Exactly.
got to be the trap. Yeah.
Or
It's a
you
mimic.
know what? You could even just, they want the magic painting, fine. They all fall into the painting.
Exactly.
There
And
you
then
go.
it falls on the floor and breaks.
Exactly. Your players TPK. That
Exactly,
would be the best
done.
TPK, most creative.
Exactly. This is a dungeon, not an art gallery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the paintings like a maze, and then they have to find their way out to get out of the painting.
Yeah.
And it just
It's
ends
great.
up into a whole.
I love those sorts of things. Those like final adventures where you take characters and in like a few scenes just transport the whole party somewhere else. It's super cool.
Yeah, I actually did that with our first campaign. They
That
all
was-
fell into a well.
That was not my fault.
Yeah.
That was one of the players' fault. He,
Yeah, they decided.
fault. It was
So
Goliath.
what had happened was they were chasing some goblins, and the footprints all led into the well.
Yeah.
So what they decided to do is,
the-
they decided to tie before they found the well. They decided to tie themselves together with ropes so no one gets lost because for some reason they thought this was going to be a maze.
Uh-huh.
And they end.
Pretty
one
solid
of them
plan.
ends up.
I wish it was a solid.
One of them ends up falling into the well.
Nice.
Because
But
they were
because-
thirsty.
Yeah, but because they were all attached by rope, and
Yes.
the person
Domino
that fell
effect.
into the well
Was
was
the
the Goliath.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
heaviest of the group.
Yeah, gravity's not on your side at that point.
All
No.
of them fell in, and I was like, all right, you're gone, you're out of here.
Dead.
No.
No,
Oh.
We didn't die.
no, I didn't TPK
She's
them.
not
Too
dead.
gentle on your players. You're too gentle on your players. Right?
I ended up transporting them, and they fell out of the sky onto a ship.
Okay. Did they at least like take fall damage?
Yes, they
Okay,
did,
good.
yeah.
Makes me feel a little bit better.
One of them almost died, though.
Brilliant.
Who almost died? I can't remember which one it
Yeah.
was. I got my deck save. Like I managed to get my deck save. So
But
I
there's-
basically rolled with flair,
Beautiful.
There's also
but I
one
basically sprained my
player-
ankle too. You fell from the sky on a
I
boat.
mean, yeah, something is, you gotta take the roll with the punches a little bit, yeah.
But I think the main things that intrigue players in that is like the little items. You know, the things that surprise the GM.
Yeah.
For instance, in the one campaign, I gave them a bell of silence.
That was funny.
It made a sphere where no noise could get in or out.
That ended up biting me in the butt so bad.
Oh, yeah?
Underestimated some of our intelligence when it came to that bell.
No, I didn't. I forgot they had the bell, and then
Sounds
they
like
were
a
on a
powerful
ship.
tool for a party of players to have.
I rolled it on a random table. The rogue wanted to steal something from a chest.
Oh.
And in the end, they were on a ship and there were sirens. They ring the bell. My whole encounter gone. Like
But that is perfect
It
D&D
was-
right there. That is
it was-
exactly what
it
it's all
was
about.
perfect. I was so proud of them
Yeah.
for using the bell, but at the same time,
It's always amazing when the players take like something that you've conceptualized in a totally different direction. It's the best, and they never really do take it in the way that you sort of scripted it in your
they
mind.
never do. But
that's what makes it great.
And that's why being a GM is so hard, I think, because it's people think it's running a pre-written adventure, or but it's 20% that and 80% trying to run that pre-written adventure.
It's like no, that way. That
Yeah,
way.
and making that feel natural, and then learning when to say like, okay, cool. Actually, let's explore a little bit down here because I hadn't thought about this, but this could be
Yeah.
interesting. Like the
Yeah.
magic painting. Or
And it's
whatever
also
it
like
is.
carrying the players' stories. You know, they're playing the game, and you kind of have that responsibility of, taking their stories and bringing it to life.
Absolutely, and their stories as characters needs to be the same story as the quest. They can't be these two disparate things. There needs to be, the characters and their story needs to be so interwoven into the way sort of the objectives are going to play out and the impact that'll have on their characters down the line, that they intrinsically do care about it and what happens.
Yeah, and I think that's what survival brings out,
Yeah.
like in your books, and that is.
Yes, and that feeling of desperation. Yeah, no, it's
exactly.
really cool.
You don't want them to feel comfortable because
Never.
when they're comfortable, it gets boring.
Exactly. No, and that's the thing. You always have to, I think the second your players feel comfortable, I think that's when you maybe drop the
Yeah.
ball a little bit, because there needs to always be that sense of danger lurking around every corner.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Like me as a min-maxer, right? I obviously try to
Like how you don't even
optimize.
pretend that you're not a min-maxer. I mean, you're like a proud min-maxer over
I'm
here.
proud that I'm trying, okay?
Good at maths.
I put a lot of effort into calculating
It's my
and being
pain.
like, yeah, but I mean, I'm in the rules.
Yeah, no, you're playing the game. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, when you put the effort to figure out the little like rule books behind, or
Oh,
like
yeah.
you think
The little synergies.
the little synergies and the little things that people don't notice or maybe didn't read like in a rule book somewhere, or if
Yes.
you're putting it into the character, then I find it fun. Like when she gives us a really challenging creature or encounter, because then that. Now I have to think, alright, I built my character for this, for like a really strong encounter. Now how do I solve this encounter?
Yeah,
You know, because sometimes brute force doesn't cut it.
for
And
sure.
then your character is like maybe holy brute force.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, because that's happened to me. Intelligence has never been my strong suit.
Yeah.
And she just throws intelligence stuff at you.
No,
Yeah,
and
but
it's great.
For some reason, most of the players in the group, the intelligence
We
is
don't
like
like
low.
intelligence.
And I'm like, what happened?
It's like the group, the roundabout group's intelligence is like low, and then you have the one person who like maxed out super intelligence.
Just holding the rest of the group up by their bootstraps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
basically.
investigation. I'll do it.
Like, yeah.
I'll
While
do it
everybody else is
again.
gonna fail.
Exactly. Call us when you need to smash something.
Yeah, we just watch it.
Yeah, with a muscle.
Like that's the fun
Exactly.
part. It's figuring out how to deal with a really difficult situation.
Yeah, and yes, and when players come with solutions that are sort of interesting and creative, and like as a GM, you should reward that.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
like encourage that kind of thinking, because you know, I think a lot of GMs are a bit scared to sort of give the players that level of agency. But I think generally speaking, it's pretty hard to go wrong if you sort of try and encourage the players and work their suggestions into the story as much as you can.
Well, I'd like to thank my DM for putting up with all my shenanigans
It's
because
part of it's an occupational hazard. It comes
Yeah.
with the job.
Yeah.
You
and
know,
It's in the little part that no one ever.
it's
reads in
90%
time.
herding cats and 10% trying to get
It's
an
like
adventure
I should have read
together.
the terms and conditions.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of fun, Brent.
but still,
Oh, yeah.
good DMs are at least I'd consider her a good DM just because she's also patient.
Yeah.
Because if you can have a bit too controlling DMs,
Oh, for
and
sure.
that takes the fun out of it.
And
So-
Yeah, you don't want to like what they call railroad the players, where it's just like
Yeah.
this is the path. This is like you need to go from this NPC to that NPC to that NPC to the boss.
Yeah.
And
And
that
if
is
you
the
say
plan.
you're
It's
walking
not-
backwards, and they're like, no,
Turning the book around.
It's not a video game, okay? You don't have that
Exactly.
little marker that's showing
Yeah,
you where
there's
to
no
go.
quick save, quick load situation, fast travel. No, none of that.
maybe fast jump.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. So it's it's interesting.
So I think with your books in terms of like encouraging players, since you've been a player and technically a DM,
So both worlds.
yeah,
Mhm.
with your books, what do you find? This is probably going to be weird, but what do you find works and doesn't work
In
in like your survival?
everything works, nothing doesn't work. No, there's. I mean, so you're saying in terms of
From like a DM perspective, what do you have to like keep your players engaged, or like what do you have to give them?
in a game
In,
like Eventide.
Yeah, like Children of the Fallen, or
Yeah, so I think again it comes back to that issue of like incentivizing the characters. So are you talking about in terms of
so you can like make it it's a survival game,
Yeah.
right? But do you have like your stats for health, hunger? Thirst?
Yeah. So Eventide, I'll show you the character sheet quickly. You can have a look. So Eventide's got some pretty cool mechanisms in it. So the character sheet, I'll just show the camera quickly.
Personal.
Yeah.
close-up.
So if you have a look, you've got like your five. 5. You've got your 5 stats
And
and
you said for keeping track, there wasn't that much.
yeah, no, exactly. Just count to 5. So yeah, you've got body, mind, combat, survival, and persona. Those are like the 5 core stats, and then each of those have got 3 sort of skills that are associated with them. And then you just put together a dice pool based on how many points you have in both, and that's it. But like if you look at the health clock, so instead of just like health points, you've got this dial. And what's pretty cool is like if you if you lose between 1 and 6 health points, you'll naturally heal 1 every hour, and you can see that over the outside. But if you lose between sort of 6 and 9, then you'll start losing health every hour and then losing health every minute as you sort of start bleeding out.
Okay.
So there's a lot of cool sort of interesting mechanisms in it.
So does the DM keep track of that?
Yeah, so the DM will keep track of that. And there's a lot of other things. There's, like I said, rules for vehicles, and they've got their own sort of hit points and all that sort of thing. So there's a fair amount to keep track of.
Is there anything that you still think you could have improved in any of your...
All of them. I think like, for example, I spoke earlier about the fluff writing. Like, if I could go back now, I'd love to have maybe put, like, an adventure in something wicked, or a few sort of short scenarios for the characters to run through. I think that's the thing that I'd like to have gone back and added into the things. But, at some point you just got to say, okay, well, it's done. And that is a book I wrote a while ago, and then this is the new one, and the next one will probably be better or worse, who knows.
I feel like that's also from like an author's perspective. You can keep editing something over and over and over.
And then there'll still be typos that you see on the way over here.
It's gonna drive you so crazy if you keep...
No, I know, and it's it's crazy. It's just classic. You'll check the thing for grammar and typos 100 times. The second the book arrives, you're like, it's the first thing you see, It just shows up more in print for some reason.
Yeah, so how many books have you actually written, published?
I'll
say published, not written.
So
it might be drafts.
Yeah. No, so full books, I think we've got 7, and then we also have a few. So for Karma, we've got a few expansion modules that add on to that, and then there's a few other micro RPGs. There's kind of like a werewolf one called Unchained, which is a single page.
The single page, 1-page RPGs are kind of like coming into style.
Yeah, so there's a very well-known game design jam called the 200-word RPG, where designers from all over are encouraged to create a role-playing game in 200 words or less. So I do that every year, and we've had a few of those published. They do like an anthology every year. So we do try and do like a lot of the micro RPGs, the smaller designs. And
just like quick play.
Yeah, and we've done some interesting things. Like we did a 2-player letter writing RPG where the whole game takes place in letters that you and another player write to each other.
Oh, that's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's interesting, sort of like we try and do lots of little interesting different things, yeah.
So, if you had to be a character in one of your books, which one would you be? Like, what would you create?
I think that I probably wouldn't want to be... I wouldn't actually want to be a character in any of my books.
I'm safe here, thank you.
Yeah, I think if I had to choose for myself, I'd probably go for like a really cool Indiana Jones type character in something wicked, like a pulp adventurer, archaeologist, investigator with a whip.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
So you got
The whip and the hat.
the hat, yes.
And basically, you're on the edge of life constantly, but you manage to live.
The edge of life and the edge of glory. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be me.
No matter where you are, something happens.
Exactly, and it's always snakes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Though I'm a snake lover. So
Oh really?
yeah.
Okay, no, I'm as well, just not
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
Shark lover, though.
A shark. Okay, no, that's just strange. A shark lover. Have you ever seen how big a great white shark is?
Yes. Well,
Those things are terrifying. It's so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Damn. You can go up to that thing, you put your arms around it, it's like this. Couldn't believe it. I thought it was going to be like a little dolphin size.
Yeah,
Sharks
a
would be
little
a dolphin.
dolphin with really sharp teeth.
Yeah, no, that's a mecha dolphin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild.
I mean, I've always wanted to try. There was a period of time where I would have loved to try DMing.
Yeah.
Just for the experience of telling the story, but also I would have loved to make it a very challenging thing for the players.
Yeah.
But be excited when they try kill the monster or something, or figure out a way to save the world. But the thing is, storytelling, the actual immediate reaction to the players and the inspiration you have to have is very challenging.
For sure. It's, like I said earlier, you can't give the GM enough credit. A good GM, I mean, just that that ability to pivot and improvise is, and something you get better with at time. Better with over time for sure. Something I wish I was better at. But like the GM that we play with at the moment, once you played with a good GM, there's like nothing.
Yeah,
better.
that's true. That is so true.
Oh gosh, I don't want to go back.
We went to Comic-Con and that GM was good. I think he was a really good GM.
Oh, awesome!
We
That's
loved
great.
it. It was the first time Nat One Dad played D&D.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
character did he play?
What did
A
he play?
fighter.
It was a
Classic.
fighter.
Yeah.
He loves paladins. He loves being the good guy.
I always play a fighter just because I hate I can't be bothered to learn the spellcasting rules.
I'm the sorcerer.
I'm like, it's much easier just to swing the axe and.
Yeah, so if there's an option, I am always the spellcaster, especially in
Necromancy.
necromancy or video games, just because I don't have to be in the vicinity of whoever I am attacking.
Yes.
just
Get your
like,
minions
I'll
to
stay
do it.
here, you
Exactly.
go there.
I mean, in video games, I'm always the archer. I've always been like an archer character, but that's kind of because I did archery,
There
in
we
real
go.
life. So that was the relatability.
I've always liked the idea of being an archer. I think it's pretty cool. Oh, like a ranger with a crossbow. There's nothing wrong with a crossbow.
A crossbow is very fun, but the thing is, I don't know how well my arms. Up very quickly.
Oh yeah, no, that thing is hectic.
Yeah. Like if you're like in one of your settings and people are coming towards you, I really don't want to be in that position.
Yeah,
where
trying to load the
you're
crossbow.
trying to
No, for
Yeah,
sure.
you need like someone strong. You're like, you do it.
Yeah, I had someone to load and someone to fire.
It's like a 2-person team.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have a feature.
so the Eventide map.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you draw that?
Yeah.
Did you come up with it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I do all the graphic design for the books, the layout, and that sort of thing, and then the map for Eventide I did. But yeah, that's about the only piece of artwork I can lay claim to in the book. The rest is all much more talented people than me.
Yeah, she makes maps, and in our D&D things, it's a lot of fun. I caught the
So
hang
did you
of it.
cringe when you looked at my map?
Oh, here it is. Oh, wait. Rebecca, yeah. Oh, that's nice.
It does leave a lot of open space.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And there's some established pathways. Yeah.
It looks nice to explore. Like, I would want to know what is in the middle of that.
Well, that is up to you. That's the cool thing about it. You know, you can see that I have left a ton of space for people to put their own sort of settlements, villages, little tribes.
Yeah, I was also gonna say I just want to go to exactly the middle of that.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty grim.
There's probably like a random boss there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is stuff there's lots and lots of like hidden secrets and things in the world that is detailed in the book. So yeah, it's a pretty cool setting. And
So is there any skeletal dragons?
no, you're not gonna find it. There is something called a glass crab, which is like a giant crab that's completely see-through. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What are some of
Wait,
the
by
other?
see-through you mean it still has organs?
Yes, but they are like. Yeah.
Are the organs see through too, or you just like have?
I read it a while ago. It was just a cool crab. I'm not giving a biology lesson.
We're like,
to know this.
Yeah, we're like, is there a floating organ?
Didn't realize you were the crustacean police over here.
There's like floating organs walking around the desert.
Okay, forget I mentioned the crab. It's fine. There's no crab.
No, you started now.
He's out of the book. He's out of the second edition.
We need to know about the crit crab.
Yeah.
What I meant to say was with her maps, as player characters, I actually got the hang of it, but she put little things that you could collect on the map, so you could physically see
That's
but
cool.
where
that's
the
battle maps.
yeah, but where the where like there were jewels or rubies or something, and some
Okay.
players don't pick up on it when they look at the map because they don't study the map.
So you're saying like
So-
you're looking at like a virtual tabletop now?
Yeah, so
Yes.
no,
Well, she
with my
makes
battle
them.
maps that I create
Yeah.
of like say like a dungeon room or
Okay.
something,
Yeah.
I specifically go and put things stamps in there
Yeah.
that the players can actually collect. Whereas normally you just have the map and then you describe, oh, there's this in the corner, there's the book
Mm-hmm.
over there. I put it on my maps. So you
Okay.
can actually, the players, when their miniatures or whatever walks in,
Yeah.
it's actually on the map.
So if you
So
like
it's
me, if you
interactive
study the
battle
map
maps.
and she puts like a couple rubies in the corner, and you're like, I want the rubies.
Of course, of course.
Of course they want the rubies. That's
Of course, they're definitely not trapped.
Yeah.
Inconspicuous rubies.
It's definitely not cursed. What are you talking about?
You
Just like the
find
painting,
out.
it's nothing.
It's
You'll be
not-
fine.
It's cool.
If you can't get it to a merchant, you're gonna find out real soon.
Exactly. The question will answer itself for you.
But it is a good map though.
Okay, that's very kind.
Uh,
I almost believe you when you say it.
But it's simple. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the kind
no,
of
it was
process
meant
of
to be
less,
simple.
Less is
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So you have more room for imagination.
But I think that's your whole style of your books.
Hell's
is
Gate
less
looks
is
fun.
It's very clean, very minimal. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And that makes it very clear to like know what you're doing.
For sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. So all of those locations that you see there have got they're fully covered in the book with NPCs, lots of like adventure ideas. Yeah. So it's,
That's
yeah.
quite nice.
I love how you named that Revelation.
It's yeah. So a lot of those are locations, and there's a lot of tips to the hat. To my old books in this one, like so you've got
that's nice.
like one of the tribes is the Children of the Fall.
So you like have Easter eggs.
Yeah, and like a lot of the locations, like well, the main town is called Dusk, and this book was called Dusk. So there's a lot of that stuff hidden throughout. Lots of Easter eggs.
It's
yeah.
nice how you're linking all of your books together.
The Frenzy Kitty
Yeah.
multiverse.
Yeah, it's just the it's nice that you have the concept of the world, and then someone can be like, oh, I remember that. Or if they like played if they played like one of your books, then they're like, I did that. Like if they were a different character, then
Yes, yeah.
like, I was a part of that. So wait, could I like maybe like follow the situation that I played the other character in?
Oh yeah.
Be like, oh, I did that. So that's like
Yes, it's like
would you be
an
able
organic.
part of it.
Yeah, would you be able to link characters like moving throughout your books?
Like I
Probably
saw,
not. No, if I'm honest, no. I think so. So they're all set in really different like times and places. So like Children of the Fall is in a world that you'd still we still very much recognize as our world, whereas Eventide, it's very, very weird. I mean, there's very little about the setting that makes you feel like it's even potentially on Earth. It's
Okay,
like,
so
yeah.
Children of the Fall is right after it happened.
Correct, yeah.
Eventide is.
Oh yeah, hundreds, maybe thousands, and that's the cool thing. Also, just giving the GMs and the players some room for creativity is that it's never actually said in the book what caused the world to be the way it is.
Okay.
And there's like ideas, and people have got theories, and some people say that their great grandfathers told them, but no one really knows. And that's also part of the
I was
mystery.
gonna say that's kind of slightly depressing, knowing it's not gonna get better.
I mean, maybe
Like,
like
well,
But you
great.
never knew it could be better,
We were
so maybe
fighting for
that's
something.
maybe ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, we were fighting for something.
Exactly. Now they're like, we're just fighting for an apple or just something to keep us alive for the day.
that last Twinkie in the fresh
The last Twinkie, exactly.
I mean, if you're, would the players like have a certain amount of freedom to maybe like find antidotes for things or make those?
For sure, yeah. I mean, so there's even, I mean, you get in one of the locations, like there's characters who just collect animals and make poisons and sell them from like scorpions they collect in the desert. So you've got like crafting is like a huge part of this, a huge part of the game. So yeah, in terms of like building and creating stuff, absolutely. Tons of space.
I feel like if I was like in that situation, I'd try to, I mean, I'm no scientist, but if I was in there, I'd probably be a scientist or someone to create
some kind
like
of tinkerer, yeah.
to create like some I don't know, like antidotes to like really big problems or something.
That's cool, yeah.
Try to come up and just maybe like I find it fun like before a game to maybe do a ton of research on who you're going to be. Like if you're a scientist, you learn a couple things.
Yeah.
you're
So
like,
you can speak
hey,
with authority.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. E equals MC what? Yeah. No, for sure.
so then I have to ask each one will each say if you were thrown into Eventide right now, like you turned into a character, what is the first thing you do?
I think I would probably be some kind of merchant, and I would travel the desert collecting bits and pieces from the old world, like mysterious artifacts, and travel through the town selling those, trying to stay out of anyone's way. I'm trying to be like the most inoffensive, chill guy, not upsetting anyone. I'm friends with everyone. Yeah, leave me alone, weird tribes of the apocalypse. Yeah, so that would be me.
Okay, interesting.
I'd be like the I mean, if I had my family thrown in as well, I'd be like the protector. Or
Oh, really,
yeah.
hey?
I'd be like the one who makes like the thing against poisons, or maybe like sets up like a really strong base or something.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, base building is a big part of both of those games. Yeah, so
And
like
all the tunnels leading out in case people come in.
yeah, the back entrance for sure. Yeah, no, you got to have one of those. Yeah, like the haven, the world that your or the place that your tribe calls home is like a big part of the Children of the Fallen. That's got its own sort of character sheet, like a tribe sheet where you have like the projects that are currently ongoing, like, oh, we're building a fence, or we're trying to dig a well, and all of that stuff happens in Children of the Fall as well.
Okay, so it's kind of you don't just have to keep yourself alive, you have to keep your tribe alive.
Exactly.
Everyone has to work together, else it'll just fall apart, or the person that doesn't work with will get shot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think like, you'll have some tribes in Children of the Fall that'll be 5 kids, and some tribes that'll be 50, and some of those are young and need to be taken care of, and so like there's a lot to play for, and a lot to fight for, which makes it exciting.
So I mean, you could be a diplomat and then just start bringing all the tribes together, and you create a kingdom. You know what I mean?
Oh, there we go. That's what we need. You just want to be queen of the wasteland.
Yeah.
Well, not a
Were
very
you talking
good-looking
about
kingdom, but a
I mean, everyone gets bonus. You're protecting each other. You create a safe space. You try to be one of the biggest kingdoms.
Yeah, I would probably be the crazy architect.
Oh yeah.
Or even pyromancer. But I would act so crazy that everyone would just stay away from me, but I'm actually really cunning.
Oh, you're just keeping that
just
that
like-
sphere around
You're like
you.
Two Faces. You're like, I'm really smart, but you're like, stay away from me.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep your distance.
I'm
Yeah.
crazy, I could do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Element of surprise. Yeah, for sure. That's cool.
Yeah, no. We have.
Corpus 667 says the map looks cool.
Ah, thank you.
Flattery.
Hi Board Game Guru.
Hey.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah. They say this was such a cool chat.
Oh, awesome.
Nice to hear about all of Gareth's games, and the ladies have done such a great job interviewing him.
Well done.
thank
Good
you.
job,
Thank
team.
you, thank you.
Good job, team. Yay, yay, yay.
We're forming a tribe. What's our tribe name?
Exactly. The Nat ones.
That one's the frenzy now
Crazy
ones.
that one.
The Frenzy Kitties. Come on. It's too good to not be the name.
The frenzy ones.
The frenzy ones.
That's good. I like
There you
that.
go.
The
That's-
frenzied ones. Yes, yes.
That's our tribe name.
All right, guys.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Don't mess with us, powerful.
The frenzy ones are coming
The
at you.
frenzy
We're
ones.
crazy. We could do anything. I think let's start with the giveaway. So
Prize
do you wanna show
time.
the
Prize
camera?
time. Yes. So we've got Static Dawn, which is that biopunk survival horror game
Plug
that I
into
told
a
you about.
generator, live forever.
Yes, biopunk role-playing game, and then Children of the Fall, which we've spoken about as well. This is the soft cover edition, which has got the nice cover.
Which is pretty
Which
cool.
is something I definitely want to play because it sounds
Yay! So these are here and ready to be won by somebody.
So for all of those kids out there who want to grow up, I'd put it off.
Exactly.
I put it over
It's
a little.
overrated.
No,
Adulting sucks.
fun. You don't just get old, you get crazy.
Exactly.
So, which one do you want to roll for?
Ooh, I'll roll for Children of the Fall.
Okay. Alright, so the way this is going to work, because unfortunately our the second issue of Nat One magazine is only coming out next week.
Yes.
It is going to be in stores next week. It's going to be
Yeah.
stocked, so you can go raid all the stores.
Yeah, sorry for the delay, but
There were
We
some
can't do anything
technical
about that.
I've seen it though. It looks good. It does look very
You've
good.
seen the spoilers.
He's got
Yeah.
some spoilers. Alright, so
Does anyone have duct tape?
we're rolling for Children of the Fall. The number is going to be the first issue number at the top, and it will be 48 hours for you to claim your prize.
Yay.
Okay, so okay, so the dice is over there.
Do you
I
wanna
want you to
bring it this
roll.
I can walk over there. That's fine.
No, we can move it this side.
No, the camera's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna come through here.
Okay. You're right. Cool. Wonderful. So how do I do this? One
Okay.
at a time?
Yeah, one
Yes.
at a time. So the camera's over there.
Okay, lovely.
And
lovely.
just one at a time, and then you can call out the number.
Nat One magazine. Oh God, it helps if you put it in your towel. There you go.
Okay, so
4.
Nice.
All right.
Next one.
7. 5.
5.
475. 475. Awesome.
Okay, he's a cat lover, by the
I
way.
am.
Yeah. She's
My
like, why'd you
friend, my
put me in
friend.
the
Hello.
spotlight?
Okay, so 475 for Children of the Fall.
Congratulations.
Yay! Enjoy it.
I'm sure you will.
You get to, I wouldn't say relive your childhood dreams, but
All the nightmares.
You
You'll
get relive it.
appreciate your childhood after playing Children of the Fall. I had it easy.
what was I complaining about?
You like,
Homework.
you give this to your mom and she's like, yeah, your child is fine.
Where's those math equations now? Fine, I'll learn Pythagoras theorem.
Exactly.
If you're still in
man.
school, stop complaining.
All right, so 475 for Children of the Fall.
Congratulations.
And
Yay.
then we have something fun for Static Dawn. It is going to be an in-stream question giveaway.
So grab your magazines.
So grab your the first issue of Nat One magazine and be ready because Nat One Daddy's going to type the question.
Sorry about the
The
cat.
cat's lovely.
No, the cat's the
now.
best. Hey. Hey, birdie.
And the question will be for Static Dawn. So one of you get
Exciting.
to play, get to immediately play because you can answer in chat.
Biopunk, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I think cyberpunk, but all about shoving things into your body to make yourself the ultimate human.
Well, it
So if
sounds
you really
like
want to make your friends suffer and have fun, this is a good idea.
so for all you MTG players out there, it's basically News Phyrexia, just
Pretty
yes.
much, yeah.
in a role play form.
That's it. Yeah.
You have a main bad guy in here.
No. So that is, again, up to the players, but there are creatures and things to fight.
Sorry.
Now one dad
Not
is
at all, not at
furiously
all.
trying to get
Not at all. I love it. Hello. Hello.
Yep. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, the
Cat's
drum
distraction.
roll.
All right. Now one is going to ask the question, and then we're going to read it.
So grab
out.
your magazines, open them up, and grab someone else to type it for you.
Here we go.
Are you ready? Ready?
Okay. All right. So the question is: In the Coconut Odyssey, which character finds the glowing pool?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Didn't you have that last time? No, this is a different one.
You didn't.
No, not that I can remember.
All right. So, which character finds the glowing pool in the cartoon Coconut Odyssey in the first issue?
Yeah, you're going to have the magazine to get that one right.
We're gonna have to look at this.
Yeah, no.
There's no guessing that answer.
Yeah, I'm also trying to think now, and I'm like,
I know exactly what character
you drew.
Yeah, I know I drew it. But the thing is, there's a lot of characters, and I can't quite remember the name.
It's like, was that the question or were you just asking?
I was like, someone remind me of my character.
Where am I?
No, I had a lot of fun with that.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So, is there any? So you've played most of these, right?
Yes.
as
Yeah,
a
play tested
Is
and,
it-
and played, yeah.
Is there any like crazy turn of events that you'd like to share? Story time.
So, I mean, I think it's... Yeah, I mean, there's great moments that I remember from, like, playing games of Eventide where we, like, would... rig some improvised explosive to another tribe's vehicle and watch it explode. Or there's a lot of really, really cool things that that come out. But I want people to play it themselves and have their own stories to tell.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm always really keen to see what people do with it. Like, there's been a few podcasts and streams and things that have been actual plays of the games, and it's always just so cool to hear what other people are doing with like the systems that you built. So it's pretty exciting.
I'm not sure. Why? Nat One Dad gave me this. This is for
No,
me to
yeah.
remind
Yeah, I think for
me
you to
what-
check the
Do
answer.
you want- Okay, let me take
I was going to say. So
I have a feeling I know, I have a name in my head.
Does Static Dawn have any memory chips? Can you
Yeah, so
take
you're
one memory chip out and put it in?
Yeah, so in Static Dawn, what's really cool is there's a system where your consciousness is stored on like a chip in your brain, and it gets uploaded to the cloud daily.
So all your thoughts are just
Exactly.
out there.
So if you
Yeah.
die, it's an expensive procedure, but your other the other members of your body can take that chip and have it implanted into a new body. So you can have the same consciousness but be in a completely different.
And is that
Is
other
the
Body.
body willing?
Yeah, well, the other body is dead, and then they put you. Yeah, so that's how it works.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's like you roll on a dice, and depending on how many augmentations you've had and the quality of the augmentations, it can either go well or you can have what in the book is called like a hard reset, where basically you just explode when it goes really badly.
So I was going to say, if you have memory loss, then it could just be a bug.
It could just be a bug, not a feature. Yeah. So, but I mean, for like min maxing and people who love all sorts of
My ears
like.
are open.
So yeah, this book is 90% just augmentations and things that you can add to your character to make them. So it's all really cool stuff, like heat vision, and
So it's nice you can upgrade your characters to specific
you can build
specifications
the
you like.
ultimate cyberpunk character of your dreams with that. But then you've got what's cool about Static Dawn is it's like there's a push your luck mechanism, because the more you do to your body, the harder it is for your body to sort of maintain itself, and so you can augment yourself, but there's always the chance that you'll take it too far, and then you get what's called a corruption, which is like a mutation, which is like where something goes a little bit wrong in the process of getting one of these augmentations. So you have like a boon, but then there's also like a twist that comes with it, which is pretty cool.
Board Game Guru says, ask Gareth about grenades in Eventide.
Yeah, so Board Game Guru was we played we were playtesting Eventide together, and there was a particularly a memorable scene with hand grenades being thrown out of vehicles, and I think I ended up blowing up the car that we were all in with us still in it by dropping a hand grenade out the door or something. I can't remember. It didn't go according to plan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want
It was
to
like,
try and keep some
only
distance
option.
between yourself and the hand grenade, believe it or not.
Next time when I throw it, move.
Exactly, guys,
I
we
think
had a
some of
code
the-
word.
I think there was some malfunctions there.
Yeah, so definitely like a bit of a communication breakdown. Yeah, for sure.
But I love how on the cover, the art, she looks so casual. It looks like such a normal
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
It's like for us, like obviously there's like blood and stuff, but like the plugs and everything, it makes us. For us, it looks weird, but for her, it looks so casual.
Yes, exactly.
normal.
This doesn't feel like anything out of the ordinary for this world,
Yeah.
This is just like a girl getting her stuff done.
Yeah.
It's like this is the life.
Bloodstain turns into a barcode.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. No, I love that cover. Came out very nicely.
Yeah,
You guys
I
are making me appreciate all these covers and things again. It's like, oh, that is nice.
Yeah. Okay, so
Cool.
As an artist, finding other artists in South Africa, some people don't have a lot of confidence in their art, and their art is good.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of talent.
That's the thing. There's absolutely no reason. Unless you have, you really want to work with a particular artist in America, but there's no reason to look for talent outside of South Africa.
Yeah.
We have more than enough talented people to do any kind of thing creative that you would want.
It's just
you know?
they're so nervous to put their art out there.
And it's awesome. And like Vincent, who's done some of these covers, like Static Dawn and Eventide, I met him at Free Comic Book Day years ago, which is now, we call it Comic Con here now, but back then it was Free Comic Book Day. But also, even in the scene, there's people who have these talents and these abilities, and we got to just look inwardly and be better at marketing ourselves and what we're capable of doing.
yeah, that's one thing that South Africans, we need to market better.
Yeah.
We're not good at bigging ourselves up. I don't
No.
think. I think you're right. South Africans, we feel a little bit self-conscious to try and sort of.
We thrive in the hidden talent, and none of that hidden talent is coming up.
Exactly. Just keep it in the dark.
Yeah, it's like people need to see.
No, you're right,
There are
yeah.
gems here. It's just they need to be mined.
Exactly. And it's like any of these things with these sort of niche little sort of, hobbies and that sort of thing. Like I look back to playing Dungeons and Dragons in the 90s, and back then, because it was like no social media or whatever, you thought that like, wow, we were like the only little group doing this because it was such a weird, obscure thing. And like now that everyone's connected, you realize that there were lots of these little, clusters, and it's the same with art. I mean, in this community, there's just so much talent and so many different like people whose skill sets we can tap into to make all sorts of really cool creative stuff.
Yeah, that is one thing where you don't realize that there are other people here in South Africa that are doing the same thing as you.
Yeah.
They're playing the same games.
Yeah,
You just don't see them.
exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
also just difficult because, I mean, to have, for me, right, I've always had a perspective of, how these big content creators, right, they got a lot of followers and everything, but it's international, or they're from America and the majority is American. We got a lot of people here.
Tons,
It's just reaching those people, and reaching is like half the battle.
yeah.
So if you manage to reach the people here in South Africa, that's half the battle won.
Yeah, and that's why meeting people at cons and things is so great, because like you already know you've got that lowest common denominator. You both geeks. You both into the same sort of
Yes,
stuff.
exactly. When you
Yeah.
find, even
The
if
foundation's
you're-
there.
Exactly.
Even if you meet someone randomly at some point, anywhere, if you play the same game, like if you just mention you play D&D, everyone's like, oh wait,
No, it's like bumping into a South African when you're overseas. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, we get it. You know, like,
exactly. You're automatically
yes, there's that kindred spirit for sure, 100%.
When
Yeah,
you start
no.
talking, you're like, oh.
Exactly, a wild gamer appears. Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah.
And I mean, like, when I was doing my matric, we were doing it at the same school. So we had to do exams at this school. So we were there with a bunch of kids and everything. And then you don't know any of the kids, but then out of the corner you hear someone talk about, you mention D&D. Snap! You're like,
Exactly.
I'm here.
Hello,
Hi.
friend. You rang?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're basically like kindred spirits. We're sticking together.
That's great. It's great.
It's weird how your subconscious does that.
For sure.
It's like
Yeah,
you weren't even listening out for it, but then in that corner of the room
Yes.
you heard it.
Yeah, it's like without realizing we're on the lookout for these keywords all the time.
Yeah,
D20, what? Someone
And
say
you're
something?
suddenly best friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
How many dice did you say you
Did
rolled?
you say mana?
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like a media conversation, and that's what's nice about like even being like nerds and stuff, is that everyone, I mean, if you have social anxiety or you struggle with just speaking to people, then this is something like common. You just naturally, when you're excited about something, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
So it brings people together.
And that's what's really great about, I think, you talk about the social anxiety thing. I think that's what's so cool about D&D is it's like a great way to, if you first like start playing, you can choose how much you want to give to the game and how much you want to get into character. And you can also play it a little bit more laid back, sort of maybe not as sort of talking in the voices and doing all of that sort of thing. So it's a safe enough hobby for you to sort of like ease yourself into those kinds of social situations. And then the games are designed in such a way that the other players can bring up the slack,
Yeah.
in between that.
And it can bring
So
you,
it's great for coming out of your shell and sort of like loosening up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Helped me for sure. Yeah.
And like like you said, it can bring out skills and they can learn new things. We have friends that didn't role play at all because they're like, this is a bit of a struggle.
Too cool for them.
Yeah. and then me and like another friend were very comfortable with role playing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something we find fun. And eventually we managed to bring them
I
out
was
their
so proud.
shells. Yeah, and they started
Yeah.
role playing.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, no, it's really great. You do feel like a proud papa when you see one of your players like flourish into an amazing role
They
player.
even started trying to do voices. And I was like,
Oh.
you're getting there.
I've never been more proud. Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good feeling.
And like even in real life, the skills they learn in D&D may just be a game, but still, if them even being able to, like if she brings up an NPC, them talking, they wouldn't normally talk in real life, but then they would decide to talk, and I think those skills can carry to real
Oh, for
life.
sure. Yeah, it's great. I mean, confidence building, it just comes with the territory, you
And
know?
one thing with any role-playing game is, well, generally, you have consequences to your actions.
Yeah,
So it's a space where people can try things.
exactly. And
Go ahead, try anything crazy, and you'll see what happens when you do it.
exactly, and that's there's always that lovely moment when you're playing an RPG with someone for the first time, and it comes around to their turn, and they're like, well, what do I do? And you say,
Yeah.
you know, it's very freeing, but it can be daunting for some players. That sort
Yeah.
of like complete lack of structure
Yeah.
or sort of like linear path.
Yeah.
But like you say, over time, you do get used to it, and
And we had shy players.
that's okay as well. You know, like you said, then the rest just pick up the slack until
Yeah.
they feel comfortable enough to chip in.
Or even that's also kind of what the DM is there for.
Well,
is
exactly,
to
yeah.
Kind of like bring them all together, just like start weaving the web and then let
Yes.
them continue.
And I think that, you know, I know there's this idea of like everyone should have even spotlight around the table, and that's great if you've got like a bunch of evenly skilled and
Yeah.
comfortable players. But the fact that it doesn't have to be that way, you know,
Yeah.
it's not a board game where everyone has the turn that works in exactly the same way. You can let some of the players who are left comfortable sort of slip into the background a little
Yeah.
bit, and some others sort of take the
Yeah.
reins.
You just-
It's a great hobby that way, that it doesn't actually have to put a lot of pressure on the player.
Yeah, you just let the ones that like jump into the situations themselves, you let them jump in. And then as they're doing it, you just quickly like highlight that one player that's not saying anything. You're like,
Yeah.
what would you want to do? Or what about if you did this? And
Yes,
then
or yeah.
maybe tell me how you do this.
For sure. And I mean, there's lots of great ways that you can sort of help empower players and just make them feel more involved. Like one of my favorite things to do is anytime like a player lands a killing blow on a monster, I say
Yeah.
like, tell me what you
Yes,
do. What does this look
exactly.
like? Describe this to me in like cinematic terms.
That is
okay.
the best thing I think you can do
100%, yeah.
as any DM is just when it's like a mega event
Yeah.
and the player caused it.
Yeah, give
Let
them the
them-
agency. It's
yeah.
their character telling their part of the story. Let
Yeah.
them be in control, you know? Why not?
Even if it means like leading to cutting out the stomach and stabbing through the heart. It's like
We got some very descriptive players.
sure, you do you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't shame you around here, you know? You do your thing.
It's
But yeah.
ironic. They're not gory, but they describe their kills very gory.
Yeah, like the arrow slid past the jug, spewing up. Like okay, go.
Yeah, you got to paint the scene, man. It's you got to feel that
Paint
blood.
it red.
Exactly. You got to feel the spray, and you know you've done a good job.
Board Game Guru said, did you guys see that new animated series on Disney Plus? Speaking of local talent, Kazimoto.
I've heard about it. Yeah. I haven't actually
no,
watched it
yeah,
myself
I
yet,
haven't
but
either.
I love anything animation. So
3D
Suck it.
animation, 2D animation, or just animation in general.
animation in general, I love all sorts of. I mean, I'm like a film person
Yeah, that's
naturally,
fair.
so I think that and I worked for an animation company for a few years, and it's just I just love it. 2D in particular, though. I think
Yeah.
there's something special about like
There's
the
something
hand-drawn.
charming about 2D animations.
Yeah. No, it's really cool.
I mean, the modern day ways that they do animation, like, you know, rigging, like 2D
Yeah.
rigging and stuff. I think that is really cool, and it makes a lot of great animations. But it's still like the hand-drawn.
Yeah,
animations
yes,
that
exactly. If you're
those
doing
are
that
nice.
cutout style, you don't get like the perspective shifts and the depth that you would if it was hand drawn.
And the charm of the hand-drawn.
Exactly, you know, the sketch marks and the little bit of like, you know, rough lines. I love
I
that
think
stuff.
anime tends to be more on the drawing animation side, but focus more on that instead of rigging, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. You know, like I think in an anime, they'll rather have like
Yeah.
a frame that stays up for a whole second but is wow and hand drawn
Yeah.
and amazing
Yeah.
rather than vectors bouncing around.
Yeah.
But we're talking film stuff, not video stuff. Yeah.
We promise we love the tabletop stuff.
Yeah, games and whatever.
it all falls under the role-playing genre.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, for sure. For sure.
Corpus 6667 says a buddy of mine and his company did Surf Sangoma. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I think that's also an animated thing. Yeah. Or a show.
I must clarify, she watches most of the animated movies.
Okay.
Is that supposed to be a disgrace?
No,
I wish I had more time to watch animated things.
I actually mainly watch more survival shows.
Oh, okay. As in like Survivor or
Any type of
Yeah,
no.
she likes
oh, like the Alone or Naked and Afraid or those things.
Yeah, or Bear Grylls or
Oh, okay.
yeah, or
okay.
just any TV show, even if it's acted, that's got to do with survival.
Okay, you
I
just love
like,
that.
Yeah, I just like that thing.
And-
One of my games that I'm playing right now is Green Hell.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
also one of my-
Yeah.
The story is actually pretty good.
I like Green Hell. It was very good. That sort of Cannibal Holocaust vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great though. It's
Well,
great.
when she got the forest first, though,
Yeah.
that game, and I had to sit. I sat either like
She had to
or-
sit
I
next to me.
sat like on the desk by her while she was
I
playing
just-
the game. I took the earphones
Yeah,
because
I
she was
just
scared,
gotten my
and she
new
like
noise cancelling headphones.
Yeah.
And
I
the
just-
sounds. I was
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
I'm
wild.
getting
When you
scared.
put those noise cancelling headphones on for the first time, it is eerie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Goodbye,
then
world.
obviously the smartest thing is to go play the forest when you get the new headphones.
Yeah.
In VR.
Okay, no, I am not going there.
when
Too far.
and you like panic when you see the bird. You're like, go.
Oh yeah,
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 like,
it's real.
Bird twig snap. Like, oh, no, move.
But it's great because they've built that tension, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like that sound effect of a twig snapping
Yeah.
can freak you out. That's like,
Yeah.
they've done a great job at that point.
Yeah,
like, but-
definitely.
I mean, that's why it's so important for DMs to have like that skill of description because they create that tension. You know, they're the ones that are kind of setting the tone.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. That's why when you start off, I guess with a survival game, when you start off, the description, even if you don't carry on like with deep descriptions, your starting description is important.
The
'cause
first
you
impressions.
You set the scene.
100%.
You're like, this is where you are. This is what's happening.
Yeah, and because, you know, like I said, there's no such thing as, like, well, you don't have tropes in the same way as you do in fantasy. You really
Yeah.
do need to sort of paint for your players what kind of
Yeah.
apocalypse is this.
Like,
Is this
even if
Mad
you-
Max or
Yeah.
is this The Last of Us?
Even if you're taking it the rest of the way, you need that introduction.
For sure, exactly. Just like establish the tone of the
You
world
can't
and the
just
kind
say,
of
You can't just
weirdness.
say you're in a desert and there's crazy people on the other side.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly. No,
"Well,
no,
what am I
for sure.
supposed to do now?
Yeah. No, yeah,
the
you
other
absolutely
way.
right. Exactly. Go home. I'm going home. Yeah. Yeah.
See if anything's left in my house.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we can.
What's
start finishing?
What's the age range as classified as a kid?
In Children of the Fall, I think it's anything up. So the characters turn anywhere between sort of 16 and 19. So they don't know. That's also the cool thing, is it's unpredictable. It could happen at any time in that like late sort of
So if I
late
didn't
teens.
turn, then I'm like a late bloomer.
gosh.
Ouch.
Like,
It's like I've been like waiting this entire time.
Yeah,
And then I
exactly.
hit 19. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, no one wants to be the person who still hasn't, turned into a zombie by the time they're 19.
that's why people that
Embarrassing.
That's why people that look younger than their age have the advantage.
Exactly.
Listen, I'm
Yeah. No, I'm 15. I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm good.
I still got a couple of years in me, you know? Blow out the candle, turn back time.
Don't kill me just yet.
You're back inside, kids. What are you doing?
Okay. So I guess we can
Wrap
wrap
this
this up.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Gareth.
having me, and thanks for watching, everyone.
Yes, thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you for the support,
this has
as
been
always.
Really interesting.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah,
very
it's fun.
excited. I really want to play one of these.
Yeah, I know, it's really gotten your attention now.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm really interested.
This conversation has been very fun, and we've learned a lot. And everyone's I'm pretty excited about these books.
Oh, awesome.
They're pretty epic. And I hope you guys are as well. Thank you very much for watching. We
So,
appreciate everything.
when we end off, we generally say Namare Adventure.
Adventures. Would you like
Namare Adventurers.
Elvish for goodbye.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so,
to 3, 2, 1.
Namare Adventurers.
Thank
Nailed
you.
it. Nailed it.